Big box. What's inside this box? Today on David's Random, I'm tackling the brakes on the Z3 and again doing it budget style. So I don't remember what I ordered. Let's find out. These are Hart Rotors, and this kit was pretty inexpensive. The link to this will be in the description. I don't remember how much it was. I think maybe $200 to do the entire thing. But that looks like a pretty good rotor. So these are ceramic pads. I believe these are for the rear. And that is what those look like. Ceramic front pads. And these already have the anti-squeak shielding on them. Bottle of something. Some synthetic .3 brake fluid. That actually comes in the kit, by the way. And then I've got a couple of brake sensors. These are the rear rotors. Now these are not part of the kit, but I'm doing these at the same time. So these are StopTech brake lines. These are 20mm spacers for the rear wheels to make it look a little bit better. So those look fairly heavy duty. These are supposed to be forged aluminum, I suppose. Anyway, the links to all this stuff will be in the description. These also come with really long bolts. I imagine this mark right here is kind of a perfect example of where the standard lug bolt stops and this one starts, because you have to get through 20mm to be able to do that. But these are going to go on the back. But in general, this actually looks like a really good kit. The rotors look like they're really well made. We'll compare them to the factory ones as we take them off. The spacers did not come with the kit. The brake lines did not come with the kit. But all this stuff is one kit. That's not bad. So the number one reason to go to ceramic pads, I'm not going to miss that. Ugh. Let's clean everything before I even touch it. So just a little shot of nut blaster right there. Another one right up here. Okay, pull these caps off. These just pop off. So this one right here is a metric 6. And of course, no, that wasn't so bad. Comes out pretty easy. And then the caliper bolts back here, these are metric 7. Right. Calipers require a breaker bar. Jesus, that is tight and not a good fit. But 5/8 also works. 14mm for the brake line. This one up here is the odd 11mm. I'm just using a 7/16. It fits pretty well, and that works. So now that I have the brake line loose, I want to do that one first, just to get it done. So these go on just like that. So this side goes up there, and this goes up in the hole. Make sure that you've hand tied everything all the way down so nothing binds. So the next thing is prying. Whoa, now that I have that line off, I have to be careful how easily this thing squeezes. So you gotta press the caliper back in, and man, does that yeah, that goes in pretty easy. And I'm just prying between the caliper and the rotor, just pushing this back in, and that I believe is all the way there. Now we're going to do our spring. So and just get that a little squish. There we go. All right, now we can take the caliper off, and you can see one pad is sitting in there and the other one just sits right here. On this side, they're not portable pads. Get that out of the way. And then it's our 6mm Allen bolt. This little guy right here, that's holding our rotor on. And he just pops out like that. And there we go. Alright, so you can see the original rotor has a pretty bad lip on it. Kind of worn down, especially on one side. You can see these Hart rotors made really well. Same thickness. The cooling vents are in the same spot. These are not angled vents, so it doesn't really matter which way you put these on here, but it does matter, because if I was to put this on this way, the rotation for this should be going this way. So think of these splines stabbing into the ground like little spikes. So I got to get the other rotor. Put our bracket on in the right direction. Then I'm going to come over with my breaker bar and make sure that they are really tight. Okay. Now these pads, I don't think that there is a left or right, but there is an inside and outside. The sensor is going to plug into this dip. This just slides in there. Actually, this one goes in here, like that. Because of this brake design, these don't actually require any anti-squeaking goo. So this kit actually came with new caps, but you can still reuse the old ones. Our brake line can go back on. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. This is not a loose end. So I have to undo the top so I can be able to twist it to tighten it on. I gotta flick this around like this to get it in. Well, it definitely is a weird one. So I had to use a 9/32 on there to be able to get that to work. So now we got the bleeder valve open. At this point, usually I gravity bleed, but I think I am going to just have my girlfriend pump the brakes and get this started, because this is going to take a little bit of work to get this thing to bleed out. This spring has to go back on, so this thing, kind of stick it over on the edges and then press it forward and it'll pop into place just like that. All right, go ahead and pump them up again. All right, press it down. Okay, go ahead and pump them up again. It's kind of amazing how dirty these little things get in here, but anyway, this one is the pad sensor. So anyway, this thing just wraps around, and there you go. Pretty. I really think that looks so good, and I got all the brake dust off my wheels. So it's like, wow. Anyway, let's move on to the rears. So the rears are pretty much the same. I think all the bolt sizes are actually the same. So same thing, you've got a bolt holding the rotor on. You've got the 2 pins on the caliper. You got the 2 pins on the caliper bracket, or 2 bolts on the caliper bracket. This one has the brake sensor on this side. So the brake sensor is the black one, connection wise. The gray one is anti-lock, just so you know the difference between the two. And then I'm going to redo the brake lines on here. And so in here, we've got one back there that has to be changed right here. And then the other one is obviously this one right here. It goes up and around this. The connections from here to here, really short. But 2 sections on the back. Be sure to take the safety brake off before you do anything. Otherwise you won't be able to get the rotor off. But inside this, we're going to find 2 shoes for the safety brake. And if they need to be adjusted, this will be the time to do it. Alright, so we got to remove the tension spring. Easiest way to do this is to push up on the tension spring to get it out of the way. Same as I did on the front. This one's a little more finicky. Ooh, that. And same thing. We're going to stick our screwdriver in there and compress. Okay. Compressing the caliper. You have to undo your caliper bracket bolts. There we go. Apparently there was a ring on there that I didn't know about. So here's your brake pads, and this is for the parking brake. And basically I'm just going to hit this with some brake cleaner and clean it up a little bit. Mine don't need to be adjusted. They hold pretty well, so I'm not too worried about it. But if you do need to adjust them, this is where you adjust it. And it's just a couple of clicks to turn it out. I recommend that you only do a few at a time, because if you over adjust it and try to put the rotor on, if it doesn't slide on easily, you're gonna have a hell of a time getting it back off. Been there, done that. So to adjust, all you do is push that down like that. And if you need to make it a little less, like if you over adjusted it, push it back the other way with the screwdriver this way. So yeah, the spring kind of keeps it locked down. That's the only thing that's holding it. I just adjusted this 2 clicks, and you want to make sure that it turns easy. It's not like your traditional brake shoe setup where you want just a little bit of friction, because it's just a parking brake, so you really don't want any friction. Okay, the caliper's back on. I opted to reuse this brake sensor because looking at these pads, it looks like the pads were actually fairly new. Now I'm going to go in and do the actual brake lines and replace those. So you have to undo this little one first, just like the front. And the reason why is because you have to undo this line and unscrew the entire line. And then it goes back in the same exact way. And unscrew it this way. So the new brake lines are in, and they look really good. So now this is ready to be bled out. Okay, everything's all bled out. The last thing I have to do is put the anti-rattle clip back on. This one's a little bit more springy than the front. I think it's easier to get it on one side and then stick it in and push it from the other. Oh, like that. There we go. Okay, I got the rear wheel on there with the spacer in there now. So I've got that 20mm spacer, the centric ones. And just so you know, if you're just buying these spacers and throwing them on your car, you may have these plastic like little washers on the outside of the hub. You can't use these with that spacer, so these have to come off. Now the other note too about spacers is I'll drive this for a week, and then you got to come back and recheck the torque on your lug nuts to see if it's changed much, and hopefully it hasn't, because these are aluminum, so they're gonna squish just a little bit, so they'll probably need to be retorqued. Looking at the back end here with those spacers on, it sets the tire in perfectly. So after 500 miles, the brake pad performance did not impress me. These are the Hart pads over here, and you can see there is a lot of metal in these. So they're more semi-metallic than they are ceramic. Over here, I'm putting on the Power Stop Evolution Sport, and these came highly recommended to me for being about the best performance budget pad that you could put on a BMW, so we're going to find out. After 500 miles, the things with these I noticed is they squeaked a little, they created a lot more dust than I thought they were going to, and the grabbing performance for short braking around town was not nearly as good as the stock pads, so that's problematic. I thought that would go away once I bedded the brakes, because you can see they bedded pretty well. But no, nope. So I'm switching over to these. I think the Rotors are fine. I'll definitely, recommend these Rotors if you want something that'll just run a little cooler. They're made really well, but the pads themselves, no, don't like them. Don't like them at all. So I just went through the break-in process on this, and I have to admit the Power Stop pads are way better than both the factory and the Hart pads. The Hart pads are just really disappointing. So there you go. And by the way, Power Stop also makes Rotors that go with this that look about the same as this. So I'll put links in the description to everything. But I really like the Power Stop Evolution Sport pads. These grabbed extremely well. Better than stock, way better than the Hart pads. I guess that's all you need to know. Anyway, I hope you guys like this review. Give me a thumbs up, leave me a comment, subscribe to my channel for more information like this, and we'll talk to you guys later. See ya.